Now, it's very interesting to read the New Testament. Obviously, in Judaism, we call it the Brit HaChadashah, meaning the renewed covenant. It's interesting to read the New Covenant because Messiah says not all who say they are Jews are actually Jews. What does this mean? For an example, if a Jew is racist to a Jew of another skin color, of another skin tone, or comes from another region of the world, that person is definitely not displaying biblical Judaism, because in Judaism there's no room for racism, because just by being Jewish it means that you've been taken from many different nations. A mixed multitude came out of where? Came out of Africa. The prophets say, out of Africa I've called my son. The interpretation to that Bible text is twofold. One, it means Israel is built in Africa. So how can a religion or a people with a religion that comes from Africa become racist? The second interpretation is with regards to Yeshua. Yeshua was born and Herod wanted to kill him, so Yeshua was hid by his parents by coming to Africa. The way he was hidden from Herod, and Yeshua grew up in Africa to fulfill which was written according to Rabbi Matityahu or Matthew, to fulfill what was written by the prophets, that out of Egypt I have called my son. So in the other segment, or earlier, I said that obviously the Jews made their way to Eastern Europe, and from Eastern Europe they adopted the Ashkenaz identity and the Ashkenaz customs, and they became Ashkenazim, even though Ashkenaz is not a child of Shem, so he's not Jewish by blood. Now, here's an interesting thing. While these Jews were in Eastern Europe, other Caucasians, or Caucasians that surrounded them, saw this religion and converted to Judaism. So today in Ashkenazim, or in the Ashkenazi Jewry, you have people who are 100% Caucasian, not a trace of Jewish blood in them, and they've never seen or conceived in their minds the possibility of having or seeing a black Jew, because they think being Jewish is being white, because they are from a generation of Ashkenazim who are Caucasian, who don't have the blood or the roots of Judea, because they were converts to Judaism. What does this mean? It means that they come from generations of Jews who were made converts to Judaism, and not ones who were necessarily part of the originals that came from Judea and moved to Eastern Europe. So in my opinion, that's where the racist element or the difficulty comes in. Another part of it is, after Christopher Columbus and the discovery of the West or the New World, fast forward 500 years, there's Hitler. Hitler singles out the Jews working together with the Catholic Church, because Hitler wasn't doing his own thing, he was doing the church work. The church speaks highly of Adolf Hitler. There's plenty history to back this, and they said he was a good man, a good Catholic. And obviously, if you look at the photographs of history, in all of Hitler's campaigns, there are two Catholic institutions that are present in that photography. It is the Islam, the Grand Mufti of Islam, which is the uncle of Yasser Arafat, and then you have the popes of that time, and the bishops and archbishops surrounding Hitler. And so it's not a secret that the church was involved. And of course, going back to the reasons for racism, what usually happens is people who are subjected to extreme prejudices and extreme racism, they tend to also become racists. Now, my fellow Jewish community might look at this and say it is an anti-Semitic statement that I'm going to make, because in Judaism, if you say something even that's corrective against or corrective to Jewish people, they might take it as against Jewish people, and they might take it as anti-Semitism. But I'm going to say it in any case, and that is, Jewish people have not dealt with their pain. Yes, the Jewish people have had the Torah, they've had a relationship with God, they had recourse in every situation. And so what they did not do and should have done and should do is find ways of dealing with that pain so it doesn't translate itself to someone who was racially violated as Hitler had done to them, and that they can reciprocate or reconstruct or channel that racism to someone else. They need to deal with that part of their lives. They need to deal with the history so that they return in spirit and in conduct to become the Jewish people of the pre-exile. That means the Jewish faith, which is open to everybody in the world. Now, am I singling out a single community or the whole Jewish community? I speak with one Jewish community in mind, and that's the largest community in Judaism today, which is European Jews, Ashkenazim. Sephardic Jews, in my experience, are people who are approachable. You can talk to a Sephardic rabbi, he can talk to you, it doesn't matter where you come from. Other Jewish people are open because they are used to living with other nations. For example, Sephardic Jews have lived in North Africa. Sephardic Jews from Spain have lived in the Middle East with Mizrahi. So they have a worldview which is much wider and much more richer than Ashkenazim, who are stuck in one corner of Europe. And from one corner of Europe, they move after Hitler's exploits. They move to New York and Brooklyn and all of America. So they haven't had much experience with people. And their view of Judaism is white, whereas the rest of Judaism understands that you've got Jews everywhere else around the world. And so, you know, if you look at the news, if you go to YouTube, if you go to any news outlet or documentary outlet, you're mostly likely to find Jews of color who are involved in some sort of movement to open the eyes of the greater Jewish community to the fact and reality that Jews don't come in blonde hair and blue eyes. Jews come in all sorts of flavors. And the reason why Jews come in all sorts of flavors is linked not only to creation and the brotherhood of man, but it is also linked to the vision of, the story of Jacob. Remember that part where Yehuda, there's a famine, Yehuda goes back to Egypt, but he doesn't recognize Joseph because Joseph was dressed like an Egyptian, so he didn't recognize his own brother. And then, of course, in that same story of the brothers, you'd remember that Joseph was given a coat of many colors, many people. And this theme of many colors and many people followed the Jewish people, because even after Joseph's death, when the Exodus came, all sorts of colors, all sorts of people formed what is Israel today. Because in Egypt, there were enslaved many kinds of people. There were Asian slaves, there were northern slaves, there were pink, purple, red, green slaves. Egypt enslaved everybody. So when those people decided to leave with Israel, it was not just a mixed multitude nationality-wise, it was a mixed multitude of all sorts of tones, skin tones, and that sort of thing. And so real Judaism, or should I say, the foundation and the heart of Judaism is not racist. So Judaism as a religion is not racist, but you will meet racist Jews who still have to fix their hearts and match their thinking to their beliefs.